switching strategies or searching for a strategy that's working right now was one of the biggest mistakes that I personally made. I believe that everything works sometimes, nothing works all the time. When your strategy is working, I've always believed, not always, but I believe that you need to keep trading and trade more aggressively. And when things aren't working, you need to just trade less or don't trade at all. Don't search for a new strategy every time your strategy is not working. Because like I said, everything works sometimes, nothing works all the time. I think we all finally get to the point where we realize it and we say, this is it. This is what I'm going to use.
It was hard and it took a while. And now I've been through all the cycles. So I know when my strategy is likely going to struggle a little bit versus when it should really be, knocking it out of the park. And then I can use my sizing in that according to that. And there's always little variations in it. So I always say the market's building a roller coaster that we don't know the exact configuration of the roller coaster, but it's always going to be up, downs, and cycles. So just go with it that way.
So to me, you had great self-awareness as to what you liked and what you felt you could be aggressive with when a situation presented itself, and something to where if it wasn't working, the opposite, you felt that you just didn't have to trade.
Yes, or trade like a lot less.
Understanding the situation, having good situational awareness of when my strategy was working really well in the market and taking advantage of it, pressing. Now, I didn't take advantage of all the moments, but a vast majority of them I did. And when the market was not giving me the response I wanted through my strategy, then I just traded less or I didn't trade at all. And I think that so many traders out there look for consistency. They want to make money every single day, every week, every month. I just find it to be so difficult in futures markets because I just do. I just think that grinding every single day, finding a strategy that produces a result every day, every week, every month, I'm not going to say impossible, but I'm going to say unlikely. And for me, it's more about seizing moments.
Then there's going to be definite times where I sit on my hands and I'm not going to be doing that much. And that's a good thing. So back to just like knowing that it takes time and experience. Most people say, oh, you have to find what fits your personality. For me, over the years, I've kind of put it more to this now. You have to find what triggers the defects in your personality and then avoid them. So that's going to lead you to the product and the time frame and everything, because every one of us, you're driving along the shoulder on the road at 70 miles an hour. There's the white line, there's the shoulder, and on the other side of that's a ditch and it's wet. You've got to avoid, you have to know when you get over that white line so you get back in your lane. You have to stay in your lane. And that's what's going to lead you to a strategy and a product in that. I know for me, over trading can bring out the kind of like battle mode in me. Not good. Not good. So everything I've done over these last years is to avoid over trading. And so my strategy is honed towards that. I want to do less. I want to be able to do it better and eventually do it bigger. But I'm not in a hurry to do it bigger right away. But you need to know what are your emotional defects, your triggers that are going to trigger those, kind of tilt moments in that, where you can rip up weeks or months worth of profit after hard work. And that everything in my strategy over these last couple of years is really honed to like keep me far away from the white line. And I don't mind if I miss a trade here or there. I want to stay away from that white line and just stay in my lane.
Yeah, well, you also have to be in moments where you need to be really aggressive and you know when not to be. So it's like what you're talking about, what I really like is that you finally found the strategy that you liked. You got to know it really well. And then the patience and the discipline came to back it up. That's how you started refining your execution.
Yes. Yes. It also comes from the wisdom of just being through the strategy now for plenty of cycles. Most people, when you first develop a strategy, let's be honest, it's going to be loaded with recency bias. Nobody develops a strategy off of something that hasn't been working recently, most likely. It's something you've seen work recently, and you're watching it and you're not executing on it. And then you go, let me do some stats. Let me do some back testing. And you go, wow, this is actually looks pretty good. And now for this period of time, it's been going on. Now you say, okay, I'm going to start to paper trade it. Well, a little more time goes by. It's still working. Now you say, I'm going to start to, actually, forward trade it. I'm going to put some money on it, and it's still working. And then they make the mistake of, oh my God, this is it. I found it. And they go and start to really do some size on it because it's just going to work. And meanwhile, that's right when the cycle is ended, because the whole process took you through the cycle of it working well. And now it goes into just a drawdown, but they don't realize it because they don't have experience through the cycles. So they're just stuck. Is this drawdown, or does it not work anymore? I mean, you have to kind of know the windows of your strategy and how long you're going to last.
And just having that self-awareness can be incredibly beneficial, because we all go through times where we, question whether we're going to make money again. Even in the last, 7 or 8 years, I've had times where you go through a month or two and doubt creeps into your mind. It happens with all of us. And in other times we're like, not that it's rational, but emotions aren't necessarily rational, where you think am I ever going to lose again? Like, this is so natural and obvious and expected. Winning is so expected, so it's about being aware of those things.
What's the most effective way to break a losing streak? She says, I've been consistently profitable for 9 months now, but I'm going through a period of drawdown and I need something to snap myself out of it. Can you cover this topic in your next video? This is a great question. And if you haven't experienced a losing streak before, well, you're most likely not trading. As we all know, even the best traders go through some cold streaks every once in a while. We all go through periods of time where it feels like the market is out to get us. But the most important thing to remember is not to take it personally. I know, easier said than done. You may not believe this, kids, but I've had quite a few losing streaks in my long career, and there are 4 important things that have helped me through those periods. They were: 1, remembering what got you there; 2, don't take it personally; 3, offset the low self-confidence; and 4, change your environment. Let's start off with number 1. Remember what got you there. Now, I'm assuming for a moment that you do have a trading strategy, and that strategy delivers a statistical reliability for your trading. I assume your strategy has proper risk management, meaning you're not risking 100 ticks to earn 10 ticks. And I assume that you're executing that strategy correctly, according to the rules. So let's be quite clear on that first. You need a professional strategy, and you're not just gambling. Okay, so that's the first thing. Okay, now, if you find yourself in a rut, look back at your previous trading results. This is where your journal comes in handy, which I seem to cover every day in this psychology video. So it's not the first time you've heard about this journal. Because if you did your job correctly with your journal, then it will be easy for you to go back, find examples where your trading strategy has worked for many consistent weeks on end with plenty of success. So take a moment, go back and look at your previous successful trades, right? Remember that although it may feel like the world is crashing down on you today, it's always the darkest before the dawn, and like all things in our lives, this too will pass. And remember, when you go back and read your journal, what I always tell my clients is that it's important for you to see those times where you've gone through cold streaks in the past. Go back in your journal. Don't just look at the good times. The good times will remind you that, yes, you do know how to trade, and yes, your strategy works. But go back and look at that previous time. What was the last losing streak? It probably didn't last that long. You probably made it out to be a lot worse than what it was. Our biggest challenge, right, is when we're on a cold streak, is to not allow or not let the stress and anxiety of the whole process make it worse. So tip number 1 is remember what got you there. Go back and read your journal and remind yourself that you do know how to trade and your strategy does work in the long term, even though it may not be working in the short term. Now, the second thing, right, my second trick, don't take it personally. I think the hardest part of a losing streak is the feeling like you've lost your identity. I know it does for me. This is the hardest This is a really hard one. When I'm winning, I could literally run through a brick wall. But when I'm losing, it's like I'm back in middle school again, not getting picked for the baseball team. It hurts. It makes you feel like you're not good at anything, right? It makes you feel like you're worthless. And I know it doesn't make it any easier, but remembering, right, the markets don't know who I am. They don't care about me. They were around long before I came on the scene, and they'll be around long afterwards doing the exact same thing. So number 2 is don't take it personally, because internalizing it is a waste of energy, right? It's nothing you're doing wrong, right? It's something you did. The markets don't know you, right? And beating yourself about this is not going to make it any easier.
And I can assure you that if you have big positions, you're going to be much more likely to be very attentive to those positions, because you know that if one of them move against you, you can take much bigger losses because you have such concentration. So it's going to automatically keep you focused. And here's the other thing: it's going to allow you what I call the luxury of integrity, or the luxury of being patient. And the reason why you're able to be patient is because if you concentrate, when things work, you're going to be able to make money very rapidly. Now, of course, on the flip side, if things go against you, you would lose very rapidly, and we're going to talk about that also. That's why you have to be able to manage the risk. But you are going to be able to play catch-up, let's say. Let's say you're out of the market for 4 or 5 months, and the market's even moving higher. It doesn't ever bother me. I don't care if I'm out of the market for long stretches of time, because I know that once I go into that market, once I go into the stock market and I start buying positions, if I'm pretty concentrated, then I'm going to be able to move my equity up very rapidly. But I want to make sure that I'm in at the right time. So I do that very carefully.
Whatever your approach is going to be in style with the market, in sync with the markets at times, and at other times sync with the markets. I don't want to have to get myself in a position where I have to change the way I'm trading all the time just because the markets, I perceive the markets as trading. It's, well, the markets are trading, so I'll pull plan B out of the closet. I've got a plan A. That's what I exercise, is my plan A. And I just assume that plan A will be in vogue in step times and out of step with the markets and times. And it's what happens during the out of step phases that really make the difference in the end. Trading is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's for me, it's a long-term thing. I've traded now in 5 different decades. In 5 more years, I'll be able to say that I've traded in 6 different decades. And so my goal is to keep my capital together when I'm in a losing streak. And that back size when I start losing on my trades. It's when I feel that the markets are not as well definable as they have to be. It's paring my size, it's paring back my risk. It's at times saying I'm going to be more picky on the signal that I'm looking at, and it's by very careful. It's it's diligence. If you exercise diligence, the rest is in the details.
But yeah, I mean, please, by all means, test out new strategies, but be aware that not every strategy is going to work all of the time. And this is sort of why I've I think, slowly migrated to swing trading and, technical trend trading, basically. I mean, this is just a matter of opinion, but I personally believe that trend trading works simply because it doesn't work all of the time.
But isn't that the beauty of snooker, that you can wake up one morning, you can't pot a ball, and the next you can't miss?
No, that happens, and it's like a flick of a switch. And like I said, it's all about the cue action and the technique, and not getting stuck inside and able to kind of deliver that cue. With ferocity, but also with suppleness as well. And I've not been able to do that for quite a while, but it does come in spells, and there's times where, I'm straight down the line and everything's going in the middle of the hole. And that can change from day to day. But, I haven't got a week to wait. I need to find that, for like at least 3 sessions against Selby.
How do you, Mr. Serenity, manage your emotions during a loser? Any changes today since the book, The New Market Wizards?
That's a good question, Dan. He's a smart guy. What I try to do is kind of a concept in my mind I sort of labeled anchor to the wind, if that makes any sense. What I try to do is when I'm on a super fast winning streak and money is flowing in almost in record amounts, and I almost can't believe it, I keep trying to force my mind into a place where I remember back to those struggle for 4 years to get my commodity account to even break even, or the latest drawdown and how I felt during that drawdown. And what I try to do mentally is bring my enthusiasm back to neutral. And so the opposite is also true for Daniel. I try to, in losing periods, go back and remember those times when I had every market on the page, turned green, and making money hand over fist. And that tries to take my depression, or not my depression, but my frustration, anxiety, anything that would go during a drawdown, and you're trying to remember back to those times when you had everything on your page green and everything making a lot of money, and it sort of brings you back to neutral again the other way. And the goal is to try to go into each day just sort of dead neutral, and try to end each day about the same. It's just another piece of data in a long, long stream of thousands of days of trading over a lifetime that are all just data points. And when you step back and look at it from that distance, it sort of calms you, and it calms you on the upside and calms you on the downside, allows you to just think rationally.
Yeah.